Now today, in an Enterprise courtroom, David Cunningham pleaded guilty to the 2016 murder of his roommate. An autopsy determined that James Hill had been stabbed multiple times, as well as suffering from blunt force trauma.
In fact, Amanda, in an exclusive WDHN report, emotions boiled over during the victim's family testimony prior to the sentencing of Cunningham. Since February of 2016, David Cunningham has been an inmate at the Coffee County Jail, charged with capital murder in the stabbing, beating death of his roommate at the time, James Hill. The motive of what led to the killing has never been released. On Tuesday, Cunningham pled guilty to a reduced charge of murder and was then sentenced to 40 years in prison. Since the victim was originally from Hawaii, his mother would take part in the sentencing phase on a Zoom call.
An agreement was reached with the state based upon multiple factors involved in this case, and Mr. Cunningham agreed to accept that offer. And as difficult as it was for her to do so, as you saw from the bench, Judge Clark entered into that agreement and sentenced Mr. Cunningham to the 40 years.
In the state of Alabama, a capital murder conviction carries one of two sentences, either life in prison or the death penalty. So in order for this sentence to happen, the capital murder charge had to be changed to simple murder. In emotional testimony, the victim's father and brother would testify before Circuit Judge Shannon Clark that the defendant had robbed them of their loved one and forever changed their lives.
You know, cases such as this, they will stay with us. And so I'm sure James and myself, this case will still be ongoing, and we will think back on this case, you know, over many years.
Due to COVID and several defense and prosecution hearings, the murder case was continually moved back. Now, some 6.5 years after the incident, there's a resolution.
It did look like it was extremely violent event that happened. As far as what the indications were and the evidence that they found. So it very well could have been stemming from a particular argument in the domestic situation.
Judge Clark sentenced Cunningham to some 40 years behind bars in the state penitentiary. He will not be released until he's in his mid to late 60s. Coffee County's District Attorney John Fulmer says Cunningham will not be eligible for parole in many years from now. He's glad the victim's family finally has closure in this case some 6.5 years following the murder of James Hill.